Welcome back everyone, and it's time to go balls deep. Today we are talking about Naruto's second son Kawaki and his heartbreaking backstory that led to the Hokage adopting him.
Yes?
Grandpa, Boruto the anime has expanded on Kawaki's manga, and it made it even better.
I see. Good news, everyone!
I know I wasn't the only one that was utterly shocked with the visual impact, metaphors, and the musical nuance that were included in Kawaki's backstory to make it much more greater compared to any other new gen character that has been introduced thus far. Kawaki's introduction and backstory has already put him in the ranks of an S-tier character in most people's opinion for these very reasons. It's pretty obvious he is given extra care since he literally embodies half the goddamn plot in his hand and drives it forward. Like, bruh, I don't know if that's a compliment or an insult since the bar was set so low by the other new gen characters such as Metal Lee, Hoki, Namida, Hako, Renga, Enko, and Musabi. So let's begin the narration. Let's start with the very beginning of the backstory. It starts, this is my voice for narration and storytelling, by the way. Let me know in the comments if it's pretty good.
Nope.
The backstory starts with Kawaki as a young boy chopping wood to transport it to a nearby shop to then sell it for a little bit of money. We find out later the reason this young boy is working his ass off is to use this money to buy alcohol for his father. This is already something many of us can sympathize with and relate. Never mind, let me talk normally. This is already something many of us can sympathize with and relate to, as alcohol is a huge issue within our society as a leading cause of death and causes broken families such as abuse or temporary relief from the PTSD that they have due to war. Kawaki's father is a victim of PTSD from the 4th Shinobi War himself, which made him reliant upon it, which highlights the message of the ramifications that it causes, where Pain said many of the small villages starved and laid to waste whilst bigger nations had prosperity. This allows us to have more empathy of Kawaki's character, and it pulls on our heartstrings even more as Naruto understands these problems and promised to rectify them. This is another reason for him to adopt Kawaki. From first impressions, Kawaki as a child shows a personality of innocence, loneliness, and a helpless nature, which reinforces the idea of how everyone tries to take advantage of him. He has hollowness in his heart and mind. We see Kawaki on his way home being distracted by a goldfish in a fish tank. This is where we are introduced to a strange man who tries to sell this broke ass boy some fish. After realizing he hasn't got any money, he offers Kawaki to attend a goldfish viewing, which we find out later on he was just trying to use him to his advantage and he was a child trafficker. This episode instantly throws in the foreshadowing of this with the slight interaction Kawaki has with characters. The man gives off this naughty smirk, massive red flags that he ain't up to no good, and we know what is going on in his head, fam.
Do you ever look at someone and wonder what is going on inside their head?
There was a goddamn motherfucking gap!
Kawaki rushes home to give his father the booze, and this has been a routine his entire life where he does manual labor as a child just to feed the desire of his father, and even the shopkeeper scammed him and took advantage of him where he couldn't do anything. He didn't have the means or power. Now in the end, his father finds out that Kawaki had the poster for the goldfish viewing. He preaches to Kawaki that strangers are not to be trusted and to only believe what he says, as his father knows what's good for him. In an odd reality, this isn't really bad advice, but the intention behind this isn't pure, as he's simply trying to manipulate Kawaki just like everyone else into becoming submissive and not daring to venture anywhere outside of his father's supervision. Adding that Kawaki is already empty and hollow, along with giving him a punishment of no dinner after spending all day doing physical labor, it's frankly abusive. We can try to dive deep into why his father is trash due to being in a war, probably losing his wife, but I don't want to justify this scumbag's actions. He's a piece of shit. Say it with me, guys. He's a piece of shit. Let's be real, everyone in the Naruto universe went through some trauma. Naruto is the prime example of that, but it's what you do after the tragedy that matters, not the tragedy itself. Kawaki spends his days drifting with no purpose other than to do what is required of him to live in his limited life in the village, just like the goldfish, forever swimming in a tiny bucket with no freedom. If Kawaki ever hops out of his bucket, he'll die in the exact way his name holds meaning too. He'll dry up. His name actually holds a lot of weight, as even at the beginning of the episode, this is referenced since Kawaki tries to drink water from an empty bottle, showing his lack of hydration, and again him being true to his name, being dry, with his Krispy Kreme ass looking parched lips being a result of it. This all symbolizes how Kawaki's life holds no meaning at that point, as what he is doing is not living, just like a goldfish meaninglessly drifting without goals or purpose, just to die if they are ever on dry land. Now, if you didn't know this, in Japanese culture, goldfish are often related to fortune, spirituality, and overall positive things, but there's also a darker underbelly to what they can represent. As I have already explained, goldfish are to live their lives in tiny spaces, never to truly have any goals or purpose, to forever drift as mere decorations for people to look at, just like how Kawaki is not of any worth to his father, but just a way to get booze. Kawaki is nothing more than just a goldfish to his father. Regardless, we finally get to the point where the anime highlights the absolute nature of secrecy that Kara exhibits. We see men from an unknown organization collecting blood for what we can only suspect to be the ability to find potential compatible karma vessels for the experiments that Isshiki, or should I say Jigen, no wait, I'm gonna say that again, Jigen needs. And this is where Kawaki's life turns upside down, although I doubt a life like his could have gotten any worse. So despite the insurmountable amount of hardships Kawaki has to go through on a daily basis thanks to his trash father, he still prides in being his son. The psychology behind this is because the devil you know is better than the devil or hell that is unknown. This emphasizes the idea of Kawaki being a goldfish stuck in a small pond and within his boundaries that has been created mentally and physically. Kawaki doesn't value himself or even has a dream. He's never thought of something that he wants to achieve in life, unlike other children or someone like even Naruto, who at least wanted to be Hokage after suffering similar abuse. This is why Jigen abuses this aspect of Kawaki's character, that he is worthless and he should love the karma, which is a gift that was bestowed upon him to fulfill the hole in his heart and give him purpose inside his hollowness. This is illustrated when two kids bump into Kawaki and start saying some messed up stuff about his father. Kawaki defends his father's honor, telling them that they simply don't understand. We then get to the scene where his father sells him to Jigen. Kawaki, who is forced to leave the village for the first time, is left with nothing to take with him, since he didn't have any possessions to begin with. He's scared of leaving the tiny bucket he's been living up to until now. Leaving the village, Kawaki and Jigen encounter none other than the goldfish salesman from earlier, and it turns out that the invitation to view the fish in the mountains and all his kind words and offers were nothing but a ploy constructed to fool Kawaki and kidnapped him into child labor. This proves Kawaki's father is correct, at least in Kawaki's eyes. This is why till this day he harbors an unusually high level of distrust to everyone around him. After what happened to him that day, his father's words hold a firm grasp around Kawaki. We all know what happens after this point. This is where Jigen puts Kawaki and many other kids in an incubator to then try to transfer his karma onto them to make a suitable vessel. His life gets even worse. Can you imagine living in hell in reality? So despite leaving the village, he just hopped into another bucket, this time almost literally. But as Kawaki was brought to his new home with Jigen, he states this is a safe place, there's nothing to worry about. And at the end of the episode, Kawaki wakes up and Naruto says the same thing. This is a direct contrast, and one of the main themes of Boruto is fathers if you think about it. One look at the cast such as Sarada Uchiha, Boruto Uzumaki, Mitsuki, it should tell you enough. However, Kawaki's character directly confronts that theme, as he first lives under his biological father, then gets adopted by Jigen, to then finally be adopted by Naruto. Jigen and Naruto are supposed to contrast each other in morality morality, and ideals. Jigen and Isshiki view power as a tool to uphold status and look down upon others and should be passed on to the next generation as power is absolute. Whilst Naruto, through his trials and tribulations, learnt that power must be used to educate others and uphold society to selfless values to help each other rather than rule with an oppressive fist. Naruto practices ninshu, which is the origin of what chakra was meant to be used for, as Hagoromo the Sage of Six Paths preached this to the world. Naruto will bestow this thought process and ideology to his adopted son Kawaki when he teaches him the nature of chakra. We see this manifest when Kawaki saved Boruto and Sasuke in their fight against Momoshiki in the manga. Jigen and Naruto try to educate Kawaki in vastly different ways. They both try to give Kawaki purpose in life. Jigen does it through trying to enforce the karma upon him and serving as his vessel, and Naruto does it through living with him by understanding him and loving him as a father. Naruto makes a Kage summit to explain the situation regarding Kara and Kawaki's dangerous potential as a scientific ninja tool, which gives him even more reason as he is the strongest ninja around to keep an eye out on him. He explains his feelings that he was a Jinchuriki and he will be able to reform him the best out of everyone. Gaara agrees that Naruto's speech no jutsu, it's the freaking most powerful thing in the whole universe because it worked on him as a Jinchuriki and he changed his ways. And the Raikage also concedes since he also relates with Killer Bee. So one by one, the decision to have Naruto adopt Kawaki as his son becomes unanimous. Instead of locking Kawaki away, subjecting him to another form of oppression, Naruto, learning from the problems of the past, is trying to make a difference in this new era so the cycle of hatred will never start again. This reiterates the overall shift in ideals in the shinobi world, from an era of war and using people as tools to the new era where shinobi are not tools but humans with values that help one another. They are the most human of all. Kawaki is then brought to Naruto's home after a couple of failed runaway attempts, and his theme song is absolutely lit. I just need to say that, cause I don't know what to say, but his theme song's sick, bruh. I recommend for you to watch the past two Boruto episodes because it seems to be getting more consistent. But anyway, whilst Kawaki is trying to run away from Naruto, he accepts Naruto's protection since there'd be no other person best suited to protect him from Jigen. The reason Naruto goes out of his way to keep Kawaki in check is not just because he needs to gain intel and selfish reasons, no, but the real reason is because he wants to be a role model to save Kawaki's nihilistic outlook that Naruto himself once had regarding life. Naruto opens up to his son and reveals to Boruto that he sympathizes with Kawaki and sees himself in him. This is why he wants to give him a chance to prove his character, just like Naruto got a chance to become the village's hero thanks to the third Hokage. Naruto talks it out with Boruto, explaining that people never saw him for who he was, and that hurt him a lot. They only saw him for the power he wielded. Naruto told Boruto that he doesn't want his son to be like the ignorant and judgmental villagers from his past. He doesn't want his own son to be like the people that hurt him and not give a chance to those that misunderstood people like him and Kawaki. With this new insight, Boruto apologizes to Kawaki and says he will give him the chance to prove himself. But Kawaki snaps under the pressure and this new environment not being comfortable, telling him he does not want to be caged in. And this is the tragic event which leads to the passing of Vase-kun. Vase-kun is born Vase-kun vs Swing-kun, the biggest debate of the entire community. Which one's more tragic? Let me know in the comment section below. Oh, by the way guys, don't forget to buy the Sasuke merch. Also, there's a discount code right now, 15% off if you buy our Sasuke Journey merch and Naruto Journey merch. Also, smash that like button for me to support us. Hit the notification bell because we're going to continue doing Boruto videos on a weekly basis. Anyway, Kawaki finally sees emotional depth and gains emotional intelligence by the hurt he caused Boruto and Himawari, something he has never experienced before since everyone in his whole life was cold and ruthless. Kawaki apologizes before giving his name to Boruto. This growth continues on in the manga as he ends up falling in love with Naruto's family. He starts calling Naruto his father and Boruto his brother. So this explains the whole story regarding why Naruto adopted a second son named Kawaki. Anyway guys, I'll see you next time. Make sure to follow us on social media, like the video, and I'll see you next time.